The unexpected arrival. Crimson sunset of Kepler-7 painted the rocky landscape in shades of fire when Commander Marcus Reed first heard the crash. He looked up from his research console, coffee mug frozen halfway to his lips as the sound echoed. Across the desolate terrain surrounding his isolated station, thunder wasn't uncommon here. But this was different. Metallic. Deliberate. The kind of sound that meant trouble had found him, despite being 3 sectors away from the nearest trade. Marcus set down his mug and moved to the observation deck, his boots echoing in the empty corridors of the research facility. For 18 months, he'd been alone here, cataloging mineral compositions and atmospheric data. The solitude had been welcome after losing his entire crew in the Vega incident. Some wounds needed silence to heal through the reinforced windows. He spotted the smoke rising from beyond the northern ridge. Something had definitely crashed, and on a planet with no scheduled traffic. It meant either pirates or someone in serious trouble. Against his better judgment, Marcus grabbed his emergency kit and headed for his rover. The drive took 20 minutes across the rough terrain, his headlights cutting through the gathering dusk. What he found made him stop breathing. The vessel was unlike anything in the human database. Sleek silver metal twisted into impossible curves, still glowing with residual heat from atmospheric entry. Symbols that seemed to shift in the dying light covered its surface. And beside it, collapsed in the red sand, lay 2 figures. The larger, one was a woman, though her pale blue skin and pointed ears marked her as definitely not human. Her long silver hair spread around her like starlight, matted with something that might have been blood. She wore form-fitting clothing that seemed to shimmer between solid and translucent, torn in several places. The smaller figure was clearly a child, maybe 7 or 8 in human years, with the same blue-tinged skin but brighter, more curious eyes. She knelt beside the woman, small hands pressed against her mother's chest. When she saw Marcus approaching, the child didn't run. Instead, she stood with a dignity that seemed far too mature for her age and spoke in perfect, accented English.
"Please."
"Human," she said, her voice steady despite the tears tracking down her cheeks. "Be my father and marry my mother. She's dying, and I don't want to be alone."
Ah!
The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He knelt beside them, his medical training kicking in as he assessed the woman's injuries. Severe dehydration, possible internal bleeding, exhaustion, but alive. "What's your name?" I asked the child gently. "I am Zephyr, daughter of Naya of the Celestial Houses," she replied formally. "We seek sanctuary." Marcus looked at the dying woman, then at the child who watched him with desperate hope. His lonely station suddenly felt less like exile and more like destiny. "Then sanctuary you shall have," he whispered, lifting Naya carefully into his arms while Zephyr climbed into the rover beside them. Healing. Hearts, the medical bay of Marcus's station, hummed with quiet efficiency as he worked to stabilize his unexpected patience. Naya lay unconscious on the treatment table, her breathing shallow but steady. The scanner revealed no life-threatening injuries, just severe exhaustion and dehydration. Zephyr sat in the corner, wrapped in one of Marcus's thermal blankets, watching his every move with intense concentration. She'd refused to leave her mother's side, and honestly, Marcus found her presence oddly comforting. "She going to live?" Zephyr asked quietly. "Yes," Marcus assured her, adjusting the 4-drip. "Your mother is strong. She just needs rest and fluids." For the first time since the crash, the little girl smiled. Mother said humans were kind. She was right. Over the next 3 days, Marcus found himself settling into an unexpected routine. He'd check on Naya every few hours, monitoring her recovery, while Zephyr became his shadow, helping where she could, and asking endless questions about human customs and technology. "Why do you live alone?" she asked on the second evening, as they shared dinner in the small galley. Marcus paused, his fork halfway to his mouth. "Sometimes people need quiet time to heal their hearts." "Like Mother? What do you mean?" Zephyr's young face grew serious. "Father died protecting our ship from raiders. Mother's heart broke. That's why we had to leave." The simple explanation hit deeper than Marcus expected. Here was a child who understood loss in a way most adults couldn't articulate. On the third morning, Naya finally woke. Her eyes, a striking shade of violet that seemed to hold starlight, focused on Marcus as he checked her vitals. "You saved us," she whispered, her voice like distant music. "Your daughter did the asking." "I just listened." "I did." Naya turned her head to where Zephyr slept curled in a nearby chair. "She has her father's courage and my stubborn hope." As Naya grew stronger, Marcus found himself stealing glances at her throughout the day. The way she moved with liquid grace despite her injuries. How she hummed softly while braiding Zephyr's hair. The gentle way she touched everything, as if blessing it with some invisible magic. "Tell me about your world," Marcus said one evening as they watched Zephyr play with his maintenance drones. "Ethros is beautiful," Naya replied, her eyes distant. "Cities that float among the clouds, connected by bridges of light. But beauty means nothing without peace. Is that why you left?" "The raiders wanted our technology. When we refused, they declared war. I couldn't let Zephyr grow up in that darkness." Marcus reached out without thinking, covering her hand with his. The touch sent electricity up his arm, and from the way Naya's breath caught, she felt it too. "You're safe here," he said softly. "Are we?" she asked, but she didn't pull her hand away. From across the room, Zephyr looked up from her play and smiled knowingly. 2 weeks into their stay, the crashed ship had been moved to Marcus's repair bay. Its sleek hull now surrounded by human diagnostic equipment. Working together to assess the damage had become a daily ritual that drew Marcus and Naya inevitably closer. "Your technology is fascinating," Naya observed, running her fingers along the ship's quantum drive. "So different from ours, yet equally effective." Marcus watched her work, admiring not just her technical knowledge, but the graceful way she moved around the familiar machinery. "Your ship's design is incredible. I've never seen anything that combines beauty and function so seamlessly. On Ethros, we believe form and function are one. What you call beautiful, we call correctly made." She glanced at him with a smile that made his pulse quicken. "Though I'm beginning to understand human aesthetics have their own appeal." Their fingers brushed as they both reached for the same tool, and neither pulled away immediately. The moment stretched between them, electric and full of unspoken possibilities. "Mama, Marcus, look what I found." Zephyr's excited voice broke. The spell as she came running from the storage compartments, clutching something in her small hands. "What is it, little star?" Naya asked, using her pet name for her daughter. Zephyr opened her palms to reveal a small crystalline device that pulsed. With soft blue light, "It's Daddy's memory keeper, the one with our family songs." Naya's eyes filled with tears as she took the device reverently. "I thought it was lost in the crash." That evening, they sat together in the observation lounge as soft melodies filled the air, alien harmonies that spoke of love and loss and hope. Zephyr curled up between them, her head on Marcus's lap while Naya stroked her hair. "This one was our bonding song," Naya whispered as a particularly beautiful melody began. "Dyron sang it to me on our wedding night." "It's beautiful," Marcus said softly. "He must have loved you very much." "He did, and I him. But love doesn't end with death, Marcus. It transforms, grows room for new connections." She looked at him meaningfully. "New possibilities?" As if on cue, Zephyr spoke up drowsily. "Mama, when you and Marcus get married, will he sing bonding songs too?" "Zephyr," Naya gasped, her cheeks flushing darker blue. But Marcus chuckled, his hand finding Naya's across the small space between them. "I'm not much of a singer, but I'd learn if it made you happy." A confession hung in the air between them, honest and vulnerable. Naya's violet eyes searched his face, finding only sincerity and growing affection. "You would do that?" she whispered. "For you and Zephyr, I'd learn to fly if I had to." Later that night, after Zephyr had been tucked into bed, Marcus and Naya stood together on the observation deck watching Kepler-7's twin moons rise over the horizon. "I never expected this," Naya said quietly. "What? To feel again? To want again?" "I thought my heart died with Thyron." Marcus turned to face her fully, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "Hearts are more resilient than we think. They break, yes. But they also heal, and sometimes they grow bigger than before. Is your heart healing too? It's doing more than healing, he admitted. It's learning to hope again. She kissed him, soft and tentative under the alien stars. Marcus felt something fundamental shift inside his chest. This wasn't just desire or loneliness. This was the beginning of something that could last a lifetime. The storm hit Kepler-7 without warning, turning the normally calm atmosphere into a howling nightmare of wind and electromagnetic interference. Marcus rushed through the station's corridors, checking systems as alarms blared throughout the facility. The main generators failing. He called to Naya, who was securing loose equipment in the repair bay. If we lose power, life support goes with it. How long do we have? She shouted back over the roar of wind battering the station's hull. Maybe an hour before the backup cells drain. Zephyr appeared in the doorway, her young face pale with fear. Mama, I'm scared. Without hesitation, both adults moved toward her. Marcus swept her into his arms while Naya wrapped them both in a protective embrace, her body forming a shield against the chaos around them. We're going to fix this, little star, Naya promised, her voice steady despite the storm. Marcus and I won't let anything happen to you. Working together with desperate efficiency, they managed to reroute power from the ship's quantum drive to the station's failing systems. Marcus handled the technical integration while Naya used her people's natural ability to interface directly, with energy fields, her hands glowing with soft blue light as she guided the alien technology. It's working, Marcus called out, as the lights flickered back to stable illumination. The integration is holding. But their celebration was short-lived. A massive impact shook the station and through the reinforced windows. You could see debris from the storm striking the outer hull. A crack appeared in the main observation window, spreading slowly but inevitably. The structural integrity is compromised, Marcus said grimly. We need to evacuate to the inner chambers. They gathered what supplies they could carry and sealed themselves in the station's reinforced core, a small space designed to withstand catastrophic hull breaches. Huddled together in the dim emergency lighting with Zephyr sleeping fitfully between them, Marcus and Naya finally had a moment to process what had just happened. We could have died, Naya whispered, her hand finding his in the darkness. We didn't. We saved each other. You saved us, Marcus. Again. No, he said firmly, bringing her hand to his lips. We saved each other. That's what families do. Word hung between them, loaded with meaning and possibility. Is that what we are? Naya asked softly. A family? Dim light, this incredible woman who had crash-landed into his lonely existence and turned it upside down, if you'll have me. Both of you. Instead of answering with words, Naya kissed him with an intensity that spoke of desperate need and deep affection. When they finally broke apart, breathless, she rested her forehead against his. I love you, Marcus Reed, she whispered. I didn't think I could love again, but you've shown me that hearts can hold more than one great love. And I love you, Naya. Of the celestial houses, you and Zephyr both. You've given my life meaning again. Their second kiss was deeper, hungrier, hands exploring and rediscovering the miracle of connection. When Naya's fingers traced the edges of his shirt, Marcus caught her wrist gently. Are you sure? He whispered against her neck. I've never been more sure of anything. She breathed back in the soft glow of emergency lighting, the storm raging outside and their daughter sleeping peacefully beside them. Marcus and Naya made love with a tenderness that spoke of new beginnings and healed hearts. Every touch was a promise, every whispered endearment a vow. Later, as they held each other in the aftermath, Zephyr stirred and smiled sleepily at them. Does this mean we're really a family now? She asked with the perfect timing of a child. This little star, Naya laughed softly. We're really a family now. 3 months after the storm, the research station buzzed with unusual activity. What had once been Marcus's lonely exile had transformed into a warm home filled with laughter. The smell of Naya's exotic cooking, and the constant chatter of a happy child discovering new wonders every day. The ship repairs were finally complete, its hull gleaming silver in Kepler-7's strange light. But instead of preparing for departure, they were preparing for something entirely different. Are you nervous? Naya asked as she adjusted the ceremonial sash across Marcus's chest, a beautiful piece of Ethrosian silk that had survived the crash. Terrified, Marcus admitted with a grin, but in the best possible way. In the weeks following their declaration of love, they had researched both human and Ethrosian marriage customs, creating a unique ceremony that honored both their cultures. Today, under the twin moons of Kepler-7, they would make their commitment. Official, Station AI Aria, are you ready to begin? Marcus called to the facility's computer system. Ready and honored to officiate, Commander Reed. The AI responded warmly. All systems are recording for the permanent archives. Zephyr appeared in the doorway of the observation deck, practically bouncing with excitement. She wore a dress Naya had sewn from ship fabric, and her hair was braided with tiny lights that twinkled like stars.
"Oh, Marcus!"
Everyone's ready, she announced, though everyone in this case was just them and the AI. They had chosen the observation deck for the ceremony, with its panoramic view of the alien landscape they now called home. Naya had decorated it with bioluminescent plants from her ship's garden, creating an ethereal glow that rivaled any cathedral. As they stood facing each other, hands joined, Marcus marveled at how much his life had changed. 6 months ago, he'd been a broken man hiding from the universe. Oh, he stood ready to promise forever to the most incredible woman he'd ever known. Do you, Marcus, Reed of Earth, take Naya of the celestial houses as your bonded partner, to love and protect through all the cycles of the stars? Arya intoned. I do, Marcus said, his voice steady, despite the emotion threatening to overwhelm him. With all my heart, across all the galaxies, until the last star burns out. And do you, Naya of the celestial houses, take Marcus Reed of Earth as your bonded partner, to love and cherish through all the phases of existence? I do, Naya replied, tears of joy sparkling like diamonds on her blue-tinged cheeks. In this life, and whatever comes after, my heart is yours completely. They exchanged rings. His was traditional human platinum. Hers was carved from Ethrosian crystal that pulsed with gentle light. But the most meaningful part came next. Now for the family blessing, Arya announced. Zephyr stepped forward, carrying a small cup of water from Ethros that they had saved for this moment. She dipped her fingers in it and touched both their foreheads in the traditional gesture. I bless this union, she said solemnly, repeating the words Naya had taught her. May your love be as infinite as space and as warm as a star's heart. And may you always remember that families are made not by blood, but by choice. The last words were her own addition, and they made both adults laugh through their happy tears. By the power vested in me, by the colonial administrative code and the ancient laws of Ethros, Arya declared, I now pronounce you bonded partners in marriage. Marcus, you may kiss your bride. The kiss they shared was soft, sweet, and full of promises for the future. When they finally broke apart, Zephyr cheered and threw flower petals that sparkled as they fell. What now? Marcus asked, as they stood together, a family officially and completely. Now we live, Naya said simply. We explore the universe together. We raise our daughter to be brave and kind, and love each other every day. Our daughter, Marcus repeated, the words feeling perfect on his tongue. Yes, Papa, Zephyr giggled, hugging his waist tight. Our family. As the twin moons set over Kepler-7, 3 of them stood together in their new home, watching the stars wheel overhead in patterns that seemed to bless their unlikely beginning. The research station's logs would show that Marcus Reed had completed his assignment. But the real truth was that his life, their lives, were just beginning. In the distance, the repaired ship waited, ready to carry them wherever their adventures might lead. But for tonight, they were content to be exactly where they were, together, in love, and home at last among the stars.